Recording in progress.
Good evening. Welcome to the City Commission regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, April the 1st, 2026, and I'd like to call the meeting to order, please, and ask Mr. Lee to do the roll call.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Marl.
Here.
Mayor McGriff.
Present. If you can and are able, please join us in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So on our agenda tonight, we do have a proclamation. It is a walk-on. Just want you guys to see what it is. So I'd like to read it. It's a proclamation for Unification Day. So whereas in 1829, Dr. John McLaughlin established a settlement on the east bank of the Willamette River next to the falls, and whereas to solidify this claim, Dr. John McLaughlin hired Sidney Moss to survey his newly established town site, and whereas on December 24th, 1844, the city of Oregon City was incorporated, and whereas in 1845, Robert Moore filed a donation land claim of 320 acres on the west side of the Willamette River next to the falls, and whereas Robert Moore decided to change the name of the town site from Robin's Nest to Lynn City in honor of his friend, Dr. Lewis Fields Lynn, who also was then Senator Lynn. And whereas on January 1st, 1850, a post office was established on the town site of Lynn City. And whereas in November of 1853, a massive flood swept away and destroyed Lynn City, leaving nothing but wreckage, and whereas a portion of Lynn City became known as West Oregon City, due in part to its proximity to the established First City. And whereas to this day, residents across the bridge in West Lynn continue to rely on goods and services offered by Oregon City, and whereas the City Commission of Oregon City hereby declares that it is in the best interests of the residents on the west side of the Willamette River to be annexed to Oregon City. And whereas the newly annexed area shall revert back to the name of West Oregon City, and whereas the former city of West Lynn will be dissolved and annexed, and all functions hereforth shall be subject to the municipal code of the City of Oregon City government, and all powers shall be vested in the City of Oregon City as the seat of full authority. Now, therefore, the City Commission of Oregon City does hereby proclaim April 1st, 2026 as Unification Day. And as part of this declaration, we encourage all Oregon City residents to welcome and embrace our new citizens of West Oregon City with open arms. And in witness hereof, I will set my hand this first day of April, 2026. We will not be accepting their debt, by the way. We'll just take the revenue. We're only taking the revenue. All right, so on our agenda, we have public comments. I have one person for item number 4, which is that, and William Gifford, would you like to come up, please?
Mayor and Commissioners, my name is William Gifford and I live in Oregon City. I just want to give a brief kudos to Mayor McGriff for coming out to the what's the other one? Clackamas County Business Alliance mayoral summit, whatever it was.
You're correct.
It was an enlightening presentation. I think they had 7 out of 9 mayors show up, and it was an honor to have you there. Thank you.
It was my pleasure to be able to participate with my fellow mayors. So we were missing 2, the mayor of Canby and the mayor of Lake Oswego were unable to attend, but we had the mayor of Milwaukee, the mayor of Tualatin. As some of you know, Tualatin has part of their jurisdictions in Washington County and part of it's in Clackamas County, so they have to deal with 2 county jurisdictions, which I feel sorry for Frank. We had Mayor of Happy Valley, myself, the mayor of Gladstone, Wilsonville, and the mayor of Sandy. So we had quite a lively discussion, as you can imagine.
What about West Oregon City?
Well, West Lynn didn't show up.
Okay.
So there you go.
Mayor McGriff is the mayor.
Yes, yeah, yes. So now we are commissioners for the city, for the newly annexed area. So we don't have to worry about
We
that.
didn't sign this, you did this.
No, I just gave, yes, I will be signing it. Yes. I plan to give the former mayor of West Lynn a copy for his scrapbook. Sure he'll appreciate that. All right, we have some presentations tonight. First one would be Metro Future Vision, and I know they're working on that project. And I've been to one of the sessions already, but I know there are many more that are going to be happening around. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor and commissioners. I'm Gabrielle Blaug. I'm a Gladstone City Councilor, but also on Metro's Future Vision Commission. And I thought I'd give you a brief presentation on what we've been working on and then ask for your participation in a survey that we have going on right now. So for people who don't know, Metro is our regional government, and it sort of works across cities and counties to coordinate activities that affect everyone in the region. We deal with transportation and housing, parks, outdoor spaces, and art. As part of the Metro Metro's I'm sorry, I'm having a moment. So anyway, we were required every 50 years to do a future vision exercise and try to establish what we think the region will look like in 50 years. And in this case, that would be 2040. So I don't know about you, but I will probably not be alive in 2040. So we're trying to sort of base it on what we have as current reality. And we are going to be working all the way through 2027. So we're trying to base our future vision in what we see today and what our community values are. And so the survey is asking for people from the community to go ahead and provide their input for us. And this is the first community engagement, and then we will have another one in the fall to provide feedback on some of the priorities that we have been we've come up with. If we could have the next slide, please. This is from Metro's website. And if you could just switch to the last one, which has the all-important link for the survey. So this is open through May 15th, and it will help us to focus in on what a broad community thinks is important for this region, so our values. And these will further sort of trickle down to provide basis for transportation, arts, housing, all of the things that Metro does. And so in the spring, we're doing this survey, and then in the summer, we'll have a youth summit, which I'm really excited about because obviously a 50-year vision will be the reality that they will be living in. And then again, in the fall, we'll have another regional priorities engagement, and with the final document due to Metro Council in 2027 for their ratification. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I want to make sure that we get that information about the youth summit. We have a youth advisory commission, and we'd like to make sure that they could attend. Do you know when that is tentatively scheduled?
Summer, and I'd have to go back and look at my notes to see exactly when, but I believe it's in June sometime.
Yeah, well,
And I know that there was a pretty extensive recruitment for members of that, so they're from the entire metro region. I haven't met them yet, but I'm very excited to do so coming up.
well, we have several seniors on our group, and they're knee-deep in deciding what the next phase of their lives are going to be in the colleges they're attending. So if any of our people didn't respond, you can understand why they probably didn't.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. It was hard to find, you know.
Yeah, but we have some freshmen, so we'll
Yeah.
definitely get the word out
Great.
to them. Okay,
All right.
any questions?
No.
So this
Thank you.
dovetails nicely with our comprehensive plan, which is a 2040 plan that we all were able to participate in.
All right. Thank you very
Thank you
much
so
for
much.
your time.
And we're back to Tim. 2025 Historic Review Board accomplishments and update on the 2025-2027 work plan.
Thank you, Commissioners and Mayor. I'm Tim Powell. I am an Oregon City resident.
Julia Sumrock Fulkerson. I sit on the Oregon City Historic Review Board.
We just wanted to take a minute to talk a little bit about this last year with the HRB and some of our accomplishments, which we feel we've done quite a bit of work. The largest one, of course, is what we just talked about at the work session, and that was the compatible change. And as I said during the work session, it was probably 12 or more this year meetings that we had to discuss all the different ins and outs of what we wanted to see in development of new construction in the Conservation District, the McLaughlin Conservation District. So that was a huge part of what we did. The other thing we found, which was interesting, is that we didn't get any requests for preservation grants this year. So we talked a little bit about that and determined one of the things we need to do is educate. And so this year, our goals were primarily based around education. And that was educating the members, giving opportunity for us to educate ourselves on historic preservation and different types of programs, which we will go find some money to do. We also talked about educating the public on what HRB is and does, and what preservation is. And those are all key elements, I think, of what living in a historic city as we do, that we need to accomplish. And we have a wonderful representative of history next to us here that will help us along that way. We also, this year, we awarded the 2025 Ruth McBride Powers Award to the Frank and Annie Bush House for an addition they made to the back of the house, put in a kitchen and a second floor above the kitchen. Beautiful job. If you haven't seen it, please go by and look at it. 204 Jefferson Street. I'm sure they'd love to have you wandering around.
I'm sure
But-
they wouldn't.
It was really a beautiful
back.
job. They did a tremendous job on it. So we are now looking at applications for this year's, and we should have that to you in May sometime. So let's see. Anything you want to talk about in that area? Before I move into the land use?
Yeah, the CLG grant, like Tim said, to help pay for education. So we were looking into some, specifically for the board, some preservation conferences this year. We looked, Christina was recommending, planning staff was recommending the Oregon
Heritage Conference.
Heritage Conference in Woodburn this year, and they have a great, they have a really great lineup with amazing speakers, and I think it's more opportunities like that to educate the board are always welcome. But no, I think Tim covered it with some of the initiatives we have. Beyond that, we saw some land use applications, reviewed 10 applications. Do you want to start that, or should I?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. And before I go into the 10 applications, I wanted to thank the planning staff, particularly Christina, Jude, and Melissa, for their daily work as full-time planning staff and preservation support. So when people, put in these applications, those are the staff members that they're speaking with, who are guiding them on what to do. And oftentimes these applicants come go back and forth to the staff to get recommendations on a best path forward before they even see us. So they're really doing a lot of that work behind the scenes, and we just wanted to shout them out and say thank you so much for their hard work and support to the residents of Oregon City. And then the other thing, the HRB reviewed 10 applications this year, and it's funny because I looked at that number and I was like, wow, felt like more. And so I thought about that and realized that the applications that we had this year we had several larger, more complex projects that we reviewed. So it did feel like some of these applications were a little heavier than others comparatively. A couple of those that were a little bit more complex were the Oregon City Hospital. That was a big one that we looked at. The Sarah Hughes House. There was a bigger addition that they were proposing that they came to us several times to work with us about some of the features and some of the just the overall the architecture and the planning of how to not compromise the existing historic structure in front. So that was one where we saw multiple reviews of the as-built, and then we saw some middle housing infill, which was a great opportunity to kind of wrap our minds around a lot of the compatible change that we'd also been working on. It helped us put that to use and sort of bridge the gap between some things we were thinking about for the compatible change and how that was going to look in a real life project, and how we would apply it. So those were a couple that I wanted to highlight, a couple projects that felt like just a little bit larger and more complex that we worked through.
And I would, thank you. And I would say what I was excited about this year was the ability of the group to work as a team. Our goal is to really help the applicant get to yes. And, we work, we've got, as I said earlier, we have people that understand the building trade. We have people understand the historical side of it. And what's exciting is to be able to have an applicant come up to us and give us a plan and have us rework it, if you will, or give them suggestions and have them walk away happy. That happened pretty much continuously through the process, and that's a wonderful thing to happen, because we really want to be able to. We wanted to show the people that we are willing to work. We want to make sure that we stay within the guidelines, but we want to make it work for them as well. And a couple of those projects were solar related, which brought us solar plans that we all looked at and said, probably not. But we were able to make it work for everybody, and everybody got what they wanted. We have a couple of historic homes that we had them put on, and they look great, in my opinion. And I think we did a really good job with that. So there's new technologies that are coming out every day, and we're learning every meeting. It seems we learn about new technologies in solar. So that's really happening now. We're seeing more and more people with the cost of electricity. More and more people want to go to solar, and more people are looking to do this. And so we want to have a plan. And I think we've done a really good job as a team in making that work.
So if you'll indulge me for a minute, Paul and Gordon, would you guys come up? You guys participated in all this, and I'd just like to acknowledge the fact of your work as well and see if you wanted to add anything to what your colleagues have said. Hope you don't mind. I didn't mean to pull this on you, but I think it's important to acknowledge the members.
Thank you for the impromptu call up.
And it's important to acknowledge the work that our advisory committees do. I mean, we're not the only ones up here doing the work.
Well, I'd first
So
like
name, don't forget, you gotta say your name.
Paul Edgar, Kanema. I'd first like to thank the team, everybody, because the team works, and we accept all of the ideas that comes out, and we're doing critical thinking. And I think that's positive when we use all of our thought process to come up with the right decisions. And I found this to be rewarding. Let's just put it that way. It's rewarding for the city, and it's rewarding for those of us that are preservationists and care.
Thank you. Gordon?
Yeah, Gordon Lawrence, South End. I have been continuously impressed with the ability of the board to come to a uniform decision on a regular basis and not have to ask applicants to come back for multiple, occasions. We can come up to a consensus on a regular basis, and it's very thoughtful and thought through. And there's a good group of people up there that really seem to know what they're doing, and it's a diverse group, and it's pretty incredible to watch how different topics evolve and are constructed throughout the evening, and it's just been a really rewarding process, and I really appreciate being able to be on that board and then see how we've been able to get the applicants through the process and see why it's important for it to be there in the first place. And it seems like we're just doing pretty positive work.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
all. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And next on our agenda, we have the fabulous chair of the Natural Resources Committee for their annual report. Are you coming up to pinch hit, Ms. Hart? Coming up to support. Good, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Sam Wolf, Ellieville, resident of Oregon City. I am the chair of the Oregon City Natural Resources Committee, and I'm to present our annual report. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, for having me. So the NRC has met 6 times since last I spoke. In 2025, we met 6 times and then twice this year. We've had a joint meeting with the Parks Recreation Advisory Committee in February, and the committee meets every other month. So an NRC is now meeting in the community room at the Development Department here on Warner Parrott Road. It's very convenient, thank you. And as always, we have a hybrid Zoom option for those who need to participate remotely. Currently, the NRC has 7 positions filled, and we hope to maintain that number even after I resign later next month. And thanks to having Emily Lisborg and William Foster renewing their appointments. Also, thanks to Doug Neely for coming back to the committee to assist us. Doug, you're always welcome, even if you're no longer an official member. Your experience and wisdom is a huge asset, and we always appreciate your voice. So current members are Brian Pfister, who's vice chair, Emma Lugo, she's completing Monica Stone's term, Dakota Hufford, she's our secretary, myself as the chair, Dave Trotter, William Foster, and Emily Lisborg. Some of the highlights from last year is that NRC has been providing recommendations to the commission through our biennial goals. We're grateful to see results in the city's ongoing implementation of the following natural resource priorities. So Bee City USA has been a goal for some time. So by submitting an application to the Xerces Society for Invertebrate Conservation, and it promotes implementation of a integrated pest management program for the city-owned and managed lands. So we've been happy to see and work with the parks managers on that. Also happy to see movement on a tree canopy analysis for city-owned lands. That's invaluable for promoting broader tree canopy across the city and all the benefits that brings. And also general public awareness and outreach regarding the emerald ash borer, which is an invasive pest that can affect all native Oregon ash, which are prevalent across our park systems, our riparian lands as well. So greater outreach and education for the public is valuable to mitigate that pest. We are encouraged by the greater collaboration with NRC and the PRAC board on projects of mutual concern, and we're very grateful to the commission and staff, of course, for their assistance. So some of the items on our work plan, which was adopted last September, we wish to work forward on and maintain our efforts. Those include developing an informal brochure for for property owners within the NRC, Natural Resources Overlay District, so that they better understand and comprehend the purposes and regulations and types of activities that the NROD controls, so what they can and can't do and how to best maintain those lands. Another responsibility that we're wanting to focus on is to promote community involvement in natural resources. So this can include a public tree inventory using volunteer populations on volunteer property participation on city properties, parks, street trees, and school properties or other public lands. To communicate regularly with natural neighborhood associations, citizen involvement committee, and the business community to promote programs such as the Heritage Tree Program and Arbor Day. We wish to improve awareness through the city website, brochures, signage, and social media for awareness and interpretation of natural resources overlay district. Support city efforts to inform new property owners within the NROD of the purpose of the overlay district and how to enhance their habitat therein. We want to coordinate with city efforts to enhance tourism. So based on natural resources. So this would emphasize local knowledge, provide interpretive signage, and education to allow people to learn about things like birding, like swift migrations, heritage trees, etc. And give people an easy way to learn. We also wish to support city partnerships with homeowners associations, Metro, Greater Oregon for habitat improvement projects within the urban growth boundary, and continuing partnerships with the Oregon Heritage Tree Council and Oregon Community Trees. Number 2 is initiate recommendations and review updates to the city's comprehensive plan, codes, and policy as they relate to statewide planning goals, which are integral to our mission. So to support this, we provide input to the City Commission on amendments to the city's tree protection and removal codes, improve public outreach and information about invasive plants and insects. We reference regionally accepted and regularly updated plant lists from the Clackamas Soil and Water District, Metro, Portland, and the Willamette Valley Native Plant List. We also support the city's application and in participation in this Bee City USA program and developing the Integrated Pest Management, or IPM, recommended through the Cersei Society. We also promote public awareness of ways to promote and preserve invertebrate habitat through educational events, such as booths at the Spring Resource Fair, the city websites, trail news, and the Facebook page and other social media. We also promote public awareness of the dangers of pesticide use, cost savings associated with reduced pesticide applications, and reduced landscape maintenance. Our third responsibility is to receive notice and comment on land use applications and projects within the city limits and within the urban growth boundary. To support this, we review and comment on Type 3 applications to vary from the adopted standards of the Natural Resources Overlay District, Flood Management Overlay District, and the Willamette River Greenway Overlay District. Our fourth responsibility is to conduct orderly meetings that result in good communications. All of our meetings are well and orderly. We maintain and update a Natural Resources Committee priorities list in our work plan, and we actively collaborate and communicate with each other when needed to share comments on planning commission goals, city commission goals, or other objectives. Let's see, our fifth responsibility is to coordinate with the Parks Recreation Advisory Committee, or PRAC, and the Planning and City Commission on at least an annual basis that result in good communication and mutually beneficial results. We're also excellent at this. We strengthened coordination with PRAC with our last meeting, and park staff through regular interaction and attendance at PRAC meetings. We also support funding initiatives and grant applications for parks and open spaces, and we always invite the park staff to attend NRC meetings as they wish. Thank you, that's all I have.
And then I'd like to add, if I really quickly could, Pete Walter, our planning manager, really is the one that is the staff liaison for the Natural Resources Committee. And so he's a great asset for that committee, and I just wanted to thank him, although he's not here tonight.
Questions? Kudos? Anything? Thank you for the great work. And you said we are applying for the Bee City?
Yes, we're actively in the process of implementing and applying for it.
Yeah, I just got the seal of approval on our earning our 2025 Tree City USA recognition, so I'll have to work with Mr. Lehman to get this press release out. So that's quite an accomplishment. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the volunteer tree surveys, because I know my neighborhood is interested in helping participate in that.
All right,
So, okay, thank you so very much. We appreciate it.
thank you.
Thanks for all the great work. All right, next on our agenda, we have the consent agenda and the adoption of the agenda. Is there anything on the agenda that anyone has concerns about, or do we have a motion?
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the consent agenda.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Commissioner
Whatever his
Smith.
name is.
Aye.
Commissioner Marl.
Aye.
Mayor McGriff.
Aye. That's okay, we're allowed to get tongue-tied every so often here. All right, we do not have, item number 8 is that we do not have any public hearings this evening, but we do have 2 items on our general business agenda, and that is A, is the Abernathy Bridge widening and seismic retrofit project. And I'll turn that over to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, evening commissioners. At our last meeting, we had an initial presentation and discussion about the request to extend the work area timing around the Abernathy Bridge. ODOT representatives were here for that presentation. The City Commission asked for some clarification and additional information. ODOT staff is available tonight to make the presentation and answer any questions, try and answer the questions that the commissioners may have. So I don't know that we as staff have a whole lot more to add at this point. And if you'd like to either ask us any questions you have, or we could invite ODOT staff to come forward and make their presentation and walk through their information.
It's a pleasure of the commission. Do you want to do your summary now, or you want to wait till after they, whenever you feel it's appropriate to comment? Yes, okay. All right, so we'll have our partners at ODOT come on up. Thank you so much for being here this evening. So go ahead whenever you're ready. Yeah, green. Green means go.
Okay, do you mind if I start?
Please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be back here for a second opportunity, and thank you for having us. We have much more information to share with you. I'm Ryan Winsheimer. I'm the ODOT Region 1 manager. And you've met Matt and Vidal before, so they're here again to share some additional information with you. I wanted to start by reminding people in the audience and viewing online that the Oregon City businesses down near the bridge project are open. They're open for business, that they are accessible, and that they would appreciate your support as this project continues for the next few years. Second, I wanted to thank the mayor and County Administrator Gary Schmidt for reaching out to me directly and connecting me with several local business owners and Commissioner Mitchell for joining me for some discussion with them to really hear from them directly about how this project has been impacting them and what we can do to help address that. And then more for us to also be able to explain a lot more about what to expect in the coming years for this project and what it means, because I think there was a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding when we presented the first time around what 5 years might mean and might look like. And so Matt and Vidal are going to take the opportunity to share more with you about that. I learned quite a bit from them. We were able to identify a number of ways that I can work with them to increase their visibility, making sure that we're talking to the public and the media when we talk about the project, that we're also reminding them about the businesses, which is something I wanted to make sure I was also doing again here today. And that the businesses are down there and that they will really, again, appreciate the support of the community during the project. My last comment is really, before turning it over to Matt and Vidal, is to say that I regret we did not explain more about what we were asking for, what the future impacts of that might look like at the first meeting. And so I appreciate the opportunity to come back and share more of that information with you, and I'm happy to stay and answer questions. With that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Ryan. Hello, I'm Matt Freitag, ODOT's Region 1 Project Delivery Manager. So I'll go through a few more details on the project. So did want to start with, let's see, there we go. What you're seeing today and how things are going to be changing in the next few years for the project site. So the next 5 years are going to see significant changes as the project evolves. In general, the work is going to get smaller. So the bridge is getting, as it gets closer to completion, the larger equipment needed to work on the bridge will leave the site. Our contractor's current schedule, thanks Val, shows a completion on the bridge work between spring and fall of 2027. We expect that much of the large equipment in the river, the barges, the cranes, and the temporary work platforms will be removed as the bridge work winds down. We anticipate being out of the river by the end of 2026. The next phase, which is expected to run between mid-27 and late 28, will be soil stabilization work along the riverbanks to further improve the bridge's ability to withstand a major seismic event. The work involves injecting concrete material into the subsurface soils and to withstand the impacts of an earthquake. So we'll inject the concrete around the bridge foundations on both sides of the river. This work is expected to utilize smaller drilling equipment, concrete trucks, and temporary tanks to protect the adjacent waterways. This work will have a much smaller footprint than is currently happening right now that is under, over, and around the bridge. This smaller footprint will have less of an impact on park users as well. The final phase, which is expected to start in 28, will be the enhancements to Abernathy Creek and landscaping to restore the park property to its original condition. This will be accomplished with small tractors and hand tools for planting. Will be generally low impact following the initial grading as the landscaping contractor visits the site regularly to inspect, maintain the plantings, and to ensure their establishment and long-term survival. And as I mentioned, in the first two phases, as those get completed, the temporary equipment, the signs, the cones, and other things along 205, 99E, and Clackmont Drive will gradually be removed.
So as you can see on this, Vidal Francis is my name. I'm the area manager for ODOT. And as you can see on the screen, this is what it actually looks like on the job site right now in those locations. And what we're really talking about is what's highlighted in yellow as the temporary locations that we're actually using right now as for access for the bridge. Using the temporary workspace in the park there is less impacts to everyone, all the users, especially those on 99, on I-205. And I would even say even residents and so forth that's walking through the area, because if we had to use a different location, again, we would be impacting other areas that would make it even much more difficult for folks that are traveling through. The public access to the parks, the boat launch, the parking areas will be maintained throughout construction. The contractor has maintained access along Clackmont Drive to allow users to get to the Sportscraft Park. We will continue to monitor the contractor activities to ensure access is not blocked and parking is not impacted. We will also explore the addition of business access signs to point travelers to open businesses in the project area. And again, we wanted to show you exactly what it looks like on the grade out there right now by those photos that are there.
And now, before you leave this slide, the green is just park.
Correct.
The only area we're talking about continuing to lease is the yellow area and utilize. So that makes it look impactful. It's much less of an area that's actually being impacted. So go ahead. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so we know the delays to completion have impacted nearby businesses. But it's also disappointed that the contractor has fallen so far behind schedule, and we want to see this project completed as soon as possible. We provide our contractor with additional tools to speed up the work and have been pushing them to meet their deadlines. We continue to encourage Kiewit to speed up their work and to find ways to get the work done faster without impacting the final product. Kiewit's an experienced contractor with lots of resources at their disposal, and ODOT will continue to collaborate on opportunities for them to get the work done earlier. The good news is the contractor is continuing to make progress, and we are over 70% complete with the bridge work. As you can see here on some of the impacts of not being able to use the work areas, generally delays and increased costs of having to not have clear access to the bridge. In addition, any other changes that we would need to have here would result in additional lane closures, which would end up having safety impacts for workers and drivers along some of the roadways near the bridge. The next one.
I think that's the last one.
One more. There we go.
Right.
Okay. As with, this is talking about the John Storm Park area here. It says, with all federally funded projects, property owners will be compensated for the impacts in accordance with federal regulations, which is a way of saying the federal rules allow us to only compensate real property impacts. And the discussion I had with businesses that are being impacted, there was a lot of conversation about this and just making sure that we were being clear about what the federal regulations allow us to do. Is similar to what the city does on a number of projects, but is really about leasing the land and then previous impacts to the dock. But ODOT recognizes that this change will impact the use of property and will compensate the owners for that. And the original right-of-way agreements from 2001, ODOT compensated two property owners over $900,000 for these impacts. And we're still reviewing the value of the temporary extensions, but expect that those will be another $300,000 in order to continue the use of that, which means that there is compensation being done. I think one of the questions was, you're going to do this without compensation, and I think making sure that we're just being clear that there has been that compensation that is that we're following those federal guidelines, that we're also restricted by those federal guidelines with federal funding in terms of what we can do. And unfortunately, those federal regulations do prohibit payments for business impacts, and they can only be for real property impacts.
They can only be for what?
Real property impacts.
Okay.
And so, for example, early in when the original right-of-way agreements were done, there was an impact to the dock. And when they impacted that dock and they actually had it move, we had to compensate for that. And so we were able to impact that. So we were able to adjust for that, which was a real impact to that actual piece of property. And the other are ongoing leases. And so we're going to be leasing two parcels from the city of Oregon City. And there's an additional parcel that's nearby there that is, it's actually just from a Division of State Lands permit. Yeah. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to go and meet with the business owners, hear what's happening, and try to figure out how we can be helpful and what other steps we could take.
Anything else?
Oh, that's it.
Questions, gentlemen? Mike, did you want to give your...
Yeah, I do want to ask one question first, though. So, bridge work in 2027, soil stabilization 2027, 2028, and creek and landscaping work in 2028. We're in 2026. Why 5 years?
That's a great question, and I think that was another thing I wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to address, and we walked through that pretty quickly in the slide and with the comments. The 5 years is necessary because while we're only going to be constructing the bridge and the impacts that you saw in that area for through the middle of 2027, We have to do the soil stabilization, as you mentioned, but we also have to do, once we do the landscaping, we also have to then make sure that we have time for what's called a plant establishment period. We have to still have access to the land, make sure that we're watering it, monitoring it, and can replace those things. So we're asking for time to do that as well.
Is that the 2-year, that's generally what it is for landscaping?
I'm not sure in this contract. Is it a year, 2 years?
I think we have 2. Is it 5?
Go ahead.
I believe it is 2 years.
Yeah, it's pretty typical.
And maybe in the middle there, the soil stabilization work, that is in-water work. So even though we're not in the river, we're going to be close enough to it that we are limited on when we can do that. So that's where really only in low river times. So in summer of late 27 and then 28 is what we're expecting. So all the work, we'll need 2 in-water work periods to complete that work.
So the soil stabilization work is in-water work?
It's considered in-water work. Yes, it is on the slope, but it's below the
Ordinary high water
There you
line.
go.
It's because some of the work will be done below the ordinary high, it would be considered in water work, but you're still on the dry land, if you will.
Okay.
Just a couple of questions. First of all, I appreciate the explanation tonight that I don't think was given in such detail last time, but in terms of the compensation going forward, it at least seems semi-comparable with what was given to the city for the park in the first phase. So I think that helps me understand that better, and I'm glad to hear that. One of the pieces I asked about last week was, or not last week, whenever it was, it's been a long,
2 weeks
it's
ago.
been a long couple of weeks. And I understand the clarification about compensating businesses specifically. However, one of the things that came up last meeting was the signage in terms of businesses being open, et cetera. I think there was at least some acknowledgement that there could be something done with signage going forward. I guess I'm shocked that it never happened for the first phase. I don't know any construction project that any city does that doesn't first put up signs that say businesses are open. I actually drove down there for the first time in quite some time yesterday, just because I wanted to see what was down there. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. It was easy to access the properties down there yesterday, although I was down there after work hours were over. But I think that there should be some effort made going forward with better signage. I think it's too late, but I think that going forward, there could be an effort there. I'm pretty sure the city's more than willing to work with ODOT in placing signs and how to deal with that. I think there's other things that the city might be able to do. Some of us have had some chats about that in terms of the businesses themselves, but that may be another conversation at another meeting. But so I feel a little bit better than where we were the first time. I just have one question in terms of the map that shows the green areas and the work areas. Are we saying that those green areas are accessible now, or those green areas are accessible at some point in this next phase, in this timeline? Is it like, I guess it's a
They're accessible now.
Yep, the green indicates park property that is currently accessible now. It's not part of the work areas.
All right, here's what I'll say with that. Driving down there, and maybe that's a signage issue too, because driving down there, there's no possible way that any citizen would believe that they could walk through almost any area of that park. And I would say probably it's I didn't get out of my car and go walk it one ways partly because looking at it, it doesn't look like you can really do that without, getting into construction areas. But I assume you can access I parked basically right there where the red square is to the north of the bridge. I think it is probably feasible yesterday that I could have walked over to the dock. I'm not sure I could have walked, or at least not felt comfortable walking in some of those areas. So if it is open, accessible, maybe there should be clarification for that, because I don't think any person driving down there would think they could walk through there. So that's the only other thing I would say to that.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Smith. And I think we agree with you that the signage, one, it is late, and we're happy to be part of the solution at this point in improving that. It absolutely needs to happen, and we're committed to that. The businesses also, we came up with, in addition to just having conversations about that the businesses are open and accessible, adding to the bottom of our webcam and our web page and to some of our materials, information to either the Oregon City Business Association or the Chamber, but probably both, that has a link to a page that also lists the businesses that are available and open that want to be part of that. And so we can make sure that as people are accessing our information about the project, they're also getting information about businesses being open and how to access them.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the discussion and the follow-up over the why this is necessary. I would also appreciate it if you could go a little bit into the how did we get here point, because I think the public deserves to know why we are being asked to approve this extension. I know that we're all very used to at this point of seeing the Oregonian articles pop up about whatever project it may be, the IBR, the Rose Quarter, Abernathy, and I would like you to please speak a little bit more about why we're in the position we are now.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to do that. And Matt and Vidal may want to jump in here a little bit too, but I'd like to start by just giving you maybe a couple of things about how we ended up here. First, one of the things that we realized fairly early into the project through the design and having conversations with our contractors is that we had to do substantially more strengthening of the concrete piers than was originally anticipated. And so after long negotiations and conversations with our contractor about that, we had to enter into a settlement with them about how to compensate them for all that additional work. Which also resulted in days. And so back in November, so this is November of 24, we entered into a settlement agreement that gave the contractor some additional compensation for that, and also an additional 307 days that then led to a completion date of October 21st, 2025. So that was the completion date that we've been working with for over a year and a half now. Since that time, we've been meeting with the contractor and talking, and that was our agreed upon schedule with the contractor. So that was in November of 24. Since that time, we've been working with our contractor about, what's going on, having conversations with them about it, but we haven't actually had an accepted schedule for over a year. So we went a year without getting an accepted schedule from our contractor. We call it a contractually compliant schedule with the contractor. But we had ideas that they were saying they were going to be late, and so we were having conversations about this. But it wasn't until actually this November schedule, which was actually in February, that we accepted the contractor's new schedule and set a new, a sort of agreed upon between the contractor and ODOT when we anticipated based on their schedule when they expect to have the project done, which is more towards the middle May of 27. And so as soon as we knew that, the next month we went to the Oregon Transportation Commission and let them know that was the case. And then it was, I think 6 days later, we were before you talking about it. So as soon as we had an accepted schedule, we were communicating it immediately. And I want to be really clear about that. This is not something that, we've known about forever and just didn't say something about it. This is something that we just came to. We're continuing to work with the contractor, and we had high hopes over the last several months of talking with them about how to recover schedule, and we're continuing to do that. I think you heard Vidal talk about a couple of steps that we've taken, but one of the things that the contractor is working on right now is sole plate fit-ups. And so when you work on a project like this, particularly a retrofit project, so if you're building something new, I think sometimes it's easier to say, here's the spec and here's what we want, and this is what you're going to see. And in this case, when they were removing the sole plates, the underside of the bridge is curved a little bit more than what was shown in the plans, and so they're having to match up plates to these, to the curvature of the bridge in every case. And so we provided something called, I call it epoxy.
Liquid shims.
Liquid shim.
They call it liquid shim, but it's an epoxy that goes in between those plates and the bridge in order to help figure out how to move that process faster. So instead of machining all those plates every time, you can use the liquid shim. We've deleted some work from the contract that we can be deferred into another phase. So that's, again, just shortening that time period. There's a number of those things that we've done in order to help manage that. We're continuing to talk with Kiewit, and I think Matt mentioned it. They're a very experienced contractor. They've got a lot of skills. We want them to help bring those to the table. We're working with them to do that, to try to speed this up.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. I appreciate that, and I know that the public appreciates that as well. I have no issue with us working with ODOT and trying to find a way to get this important project completed. What I do have an issue with is when we have people or jurisdictions or governments coming to us asking us to work with them when that spirit of partnership has not felt like it's been there reciprocally for us. And so I know that there are a variety of projects that in Oregon City that are very important to us. The two big ones that come to mind are the quiet zone along the railroad in downtown Oregon City, and having to work through ODOT as our fiscal agent for the federal earmarks that we received, and how a lot of the delays, a lot of the bureaucratic red tape that we've had to deal with has led to inflationary increases to that project, which at this point has made that project unfeasible without an additional injection of, what is it, $1.7 million. And that's not all on ODOT, I want to recognize that, but there are issues that our jurisdiction has had trying to get some really important projects completed as well. And the spirit of partnership needs to be going both ways when it comes to our ability to work together. And then the other project, I guess it isn't really a project, but more of something that we've been working toward, is the issue over the old 82nd and the rights of way and easements over there to help facilitate redevelopment of a parcel of land over in that area near the Home Depot area. So I would be willing to move forward with something so long as we are able to allay the concerns of our local businesses, and if we are able to come to some sort of agreement on a variety of projects that are essential for our city's infrastructure and community development in moving forward. Thank you.
Just one.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I appreciate those comments. Thank you. And I'm sorry if you haven't had the feeling of a continued partnership between ODOT and the city. We've worked on countless projects together over the years, from the waterfront project that we helped deliver, the trail projects that we're doing on the roundabout and other trail connections that we're doing. We did one-way Main Street to two-way Main Street when we did a quick grant in order to try to help figure out how to help those businesses that felt like a two-way Main Street was a better option than a one-way Main Street. Willamette Falls Legacy Project is something we've been on the planning side and development side and working with the tribe and working with the city on what does that traffic look like. We've come to some agreements and settled in the tribe, and we're ready to now move forward with the intersections that we see there and the things that we've been working on. We've got slight activity that we've been working on with the rockfall and other things that we do. So I think we've been...
Forget about the party.
Yeah, yes, we do parties. We've done permits for 9/11 celebrations on the Arch City Bridge and work with the community on that, making sure that we get the bridge cleaned up and prepared for those and provide some traffic control. If the city is interested in delivering their own federal aid projects, there's a process that they can go through called it's becoming a locally certified agency, and can actually do those on their own without having to go through ODOT on that. If you're thinking that ODOT's not somehow being a good partner in that, there's a way to do that. And several counties and cities, City of Portland, for example, is certified and delivers their own. So there's a lot of ways that we can keep those conversations moving in terms of how do we work together on those projects, how do we work better together into the future, and what things might you want to take on your own into the future.
Well, I think all of those are great suggestions. However, the two projects that he's mentioned, we're already working with the agency on those right now. We just need to have a little more urgency, particularly with the quiet zone. I would say that's, I had hoped that that might be done by now. So if there's a way that we can work with your staff to make that project a little more expedient, and then also get the right-of-way vacated. We've been told we have to pay for the property that we want to it's like a little sliver. I mean, nobody's ever going to be able to use that for anything other than joining it with our property. So those, I would agree with what you said about that. And it's not that we have not been working together. We have a lot of cooperation. I think what the public doesn't understand, that there are different moving parts to this agency. They handle a lot of things from soup to nuts. So one is ODOT Rail, we've got that, and then we've got the property acquisition. So if we can just get some more understanding from the project managers there that we would like to move this faster, that would be really helpful.
That message is received right now.
Yes.
I'm happy to receive that, and I'm happy to try to help with that. And I also encourage you to reach out to Matt or myself, the area managers, and we're also accessible to be on not just those projects, but anytime you're running into those kinds of issues and have additional things you'd like to work through with us, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly and have a conversation about how can we maybe do this differently, or what might that look like. I'm happy to engage in those conversations with you.
Yeah, and I appreciate your going over the historical projects that we've worked on in the past that have gone well. I think the problem, I was not on the commission during that time, and so my working relationship with ODOT has not been defined by those milestones as positive as they have been. But I do want to acknowledge that I recognize that the structural deficiencies at ODOT are not your fault. I know that a lot of the interactions we've had with your agency in the past 5-10 years has focused a lot on the tolling, and I recognize that that was not your choice. It was legislatively directed. So I want to recognize that there is the opportunity to build those relationships and make them stronger. So thank you.
I look forward to that. Thank you.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Rocky has something.
Rocky,
and then-
okay.
Just one more question about the work areas and the open space. So yes, and I guess the question really is there a way to better delineate on site which areas are open to the public and which are not? Because I was about ready to say I don't recall seeing any fencing. I don't recall seeing any kind of even caution tape that says this is the work area and this is not. In most construction sites there would be that. I'm now looking at my photos and correcting myself briefly because there's at least a couple cones with some ropes on them, but that only really delineates what looks like the driveway, construction driveway down into under the bridge. So there should be at least some visual, I think, on site if there are areas that are accessible to the public, because without that, you just see stuff all over, and I don't think it's something that most people would say, I'm comfortable walking into these areas without something more specific, and I think that'd be pretty simple.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's part of the responsibility of the contractor, and they have not done that.
So I think that would help.
We can work on too.
That would help a lot.
I took a note, Commissioner, when you said that, because I also, when talking with the businesses, had a conversation around, it didn't feel like it was accessible.
Right.
And I think you've actually hit on one of the key points of that is how do you delineate it?
Right.
How do you make sure that it is accessible? And that's something we can follow up with the contractor on.
Okay, yeah, I did have the opportunity a couple of days ago to meet with Mr. Winsheimer and Mr. Francis, and I thank you for taking the time to do that, along with Mr. Dye and Mr. Drivo, who operate the two businesses that are most affected, and some members of the River Assets Group. It was a very good meeting. It was productive. I believe that the ODOT representatives heard clearly from the two business owners that it's more than just access to the businesses. It's the desirability or non-desirability of people wanting to be on the water in the middle of that project. And I think, honestly, that has had more of a negative impact on their business than the access. So it was a good sharing of information. It was helpful to me to, and I believe to the business owners as well, to get some more clarification on what ODOT is federally allowed to compensate for and not, and that has helped, at least helped me a little bit in the process. I'm not going to let you off the hook on the fact that two things. That kind of a meeting should have happened much sooner and should have been happening on a regular basis. That's water under the bridge, not to be corny, but, and the other, God, I just lost my train of thought. The signage should have happened already. And I know that you did not have an agreed to schedule until just before you came to us a couple of weeks ago. But you certainly knew that you weren't going to hit the original schedule. And that would have been a good time to, raise your hand and inform the city that here's where we're at. We don't know exactly where it's going to be, but it's not going to be on the original schedule, and the delay is going to be significant. And that to me is being a good partner, and we didn't get that information. There are still, I think we have a lot more clarity now on what ODOT is able to compensate for and not. There were some other issues that I believe that you already are aware of and are going to help us figure out. One is discussion of some parking time limits in the parking lot and why those are there and can they be eliminated to make more parking available for those businesses. There are questions about easements or clearance space necessary around the new piers or I don't know if piers is exactly the right term, but after the construction is done, are there navigation restrictions around there that are going to affect particularly Sportcraft? And then still the signage issues. But again, it was a good meeting, should have happened much sooner. I appreciate you taking the time to be there. And I appreciate that you listened to what the businesses had to say. And I hope that that's something that can continue over the next phases of the project as it goes forward.
Okay. Well, I am cognizant that we have a lot of people that want to say something about this, and it is not a public hearing, but it is a business item that we would appreciate comments. So I'm going to call you up two at a time, and then we'll have our ODOT staff come back along with the city. And just for those of you that are not familiar with our wonderful process, so it's you have 3 minutes, and say your name and city of residence for the record. And if you've already submitted something in writing to us, please be respectful and do not read it, because we did read it. And we appreciate your being here. So I'm going to call up William Gifford and Betty Mum. And since we have a lot of people, if you could come up quickly, that would be wonderful. So William, if you'd please go first, thank you.
Hello again, Commissioners and Mayor. I am William Gifford, still live in Oregon City.
Thank goodness. You're
As of
still William Gifford.
As the founding director for the Oregon City Business Alliance, I've been in email communication with Kent Ziegler, who was at that meeting, or some of those meetings, and I wanted to confirm the fact that we already have plans for putting a link on our website for the to direct them to ODOT's listing of businesses that are open. It's kind of a small token gesture, but it's better than nothing. And I also recommended to him that we encourage Chamber of Commerce, of which I'm also a member, and the Downtown Association, Oregon City Downtown Association, also put a little something on their website. I did have a clarification question that I hope that our representatives here will be able to answer, and that is, have there been any economic incentives or penalties offered to the contractor to get this done by a particular date? I know that a lot of contracts are written where you say if it has to be done by this date, and if you get it done sooner, we'll pay you more. And if it gets done later, we're going to pay you less. Or we're going to pay you what we said we were going to pay you, but we're not going to pay you any more and you still have to finish it. And I just don't know if those carrots and sticks have been offered to the
We'll have them address that
contractors.
when they come back.
Thank you.
Yes, there has been some penalty. They didn't get paid for several months because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. But there may be more. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here for Kent.
Betty Mum, I live in Oregon City. I thought your questions were great, Commissioner Smith and Adam and Mike Mitchell. You were asking questions that I wanted to ask, and so I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate ODOT coming to clarify, and you're right, it should have happened months and months ago. The businesses should have not been down there without the signage and have to suffer through what they have. So I know I was a small business owner in a different city, and that road would have probably killed my business. I could tell you that. So I appreciate the businesses hanging in there for as long as they have with the negative impact of ODOT. I would also encourage ODOT to make sure they have someone following the contractor and making sure the contractor is doing exactly what the contractor is supposed to do. So the other idea I was thinking about was putting it on the ballot in November so the citizens could vote on that. I haven't heard any of your comments about that, and I would like to know what your thoughts are. We did it in May when this originally came up. So it may be a good thing because citizens want to know what's going on. Why is it taking, years and years and years when a private developer could probably come in and do it in half the time? But the citizens want to know, and I think you guys could put that out on the ballot and explain it to them. Thank you.
Sam and Raymond.
My name is Raymond Rendelman, and I'm a resident of Oregon City. I'm also on the Transportation Advisory Committee, although speaking solely for myself. I've two specific requests for the commission. One is that you don't vote to allow the extension tonight. ODOT didn't provide any solid reason why they need the 5-year extension right now. There's a lot of unanswered questions that they have. There's a lot of things that they could be completing, like the signage and all the negotiations that could be happening between now and August. We'd have to talk with the city recorder about the exact date for referring to the November ballot, but that would be an August deadline. So between now and August, we could see some progress made on the signage, all the other things that they've promised in discussions here, and some additional things. Like I'm glad that you all are bringing up the quiet zones. For example, let's see something in writing, and hopefully a large check from ODOT to complete the quiet zones. I was looking at this article, Abernathy Bridge Project continues to stall, raising costs. And in this article, they talk about how it's a $672 million project originally. That's what was budgeted. So exactly 1% of that is about what we've budgeted to the project on Highway 213, which is an ODOT road, $6.5 million going to that. So it would be a drop in the bucket on what their original cost is for the overall bridge project to provide that $6.5 million to fix the Beaver Creek and 213 intersection that was originally messed up by ODOT. So it would be great to see that fixed, get the quiet zone fixed, and get something that is similar to what happened over in the West Lynn side, because West Lynn got a really nice set of sidewalks. They've got nice sidewalks that were newly built over there and a new traffic circle. And that probably cost at least $5 million to construct all of the nice stuff on the West Lynn side. So we should get something approximating that for the 5-year extension.
Thank you. You understand that was part of the project. So go ahead, Sam.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. My name is Sam Drivo. I live in Orange City and work here. And again, we're kind of at this important inflection point, I think. I appreciate you guys pointing out that we're a little late with a bunch of these conversations. I will say at the very beginning of the project, I was on the horn trying to get a hold of somebody at ODOT and really working to try to understand the project, see if there are resources. As a small business owner down right underneath the bridge and an anchor tenant at Sportcraft, you know, we felt these effects. I'm not going to go into the details. I did submit a letter, and you know, I guess what I'll say is originally I thought it was a, you know, a 4-year. We're going to the 5th summer here. So in the 4 summers, you know, we've just watched this trend happen. Obviously, decrease in visitation and revenue in a dramatic way. And I'm going to get a little bit more pointed with the conversation because just understanding the ball field here, and I appreciate Vidal and Ryan and Commissioner Mitchell and the Oregon State Business Alliance and the River Asset Opportunities group for just coming together and having this discussion to try to gain more clarity on a high level and then figure out what's possible in this moment. And what I will say is at the very beginning of the project, you know, we had some other challenging issues that we were dealing with down there and directly relating to rent, which quadrupled for Sportcraft and doubled for us, which was like the very beginning of the staging of this project. So it was like all of a sudden our costs went to here and then our revenue has just been going like that. So that was really challenging. And I do remember James Graham looking over the project and being like, oof, man, I hope you're still around at the end of this project. And I'm an optimistic guy, so I was just like, oh, we'll outlast them, you know? And then we'll hold our breath and we'll see how it goes. And we're 4 years in, and now it's like, oh, we're just gonna double the duration of the project. So that's what was really caught my attention. It's like, oh man, 5 more years, really? And the reality is every moment down there and all the impacts are related. I mean, we run, you know, thousands, we have hundreds and thousands of people and also children, and we do walk to Clackamas Park from Sportcraft, you know, and there is not an easy way to get through there. So again, you would probably read my letter. I think that there's, at this moment, the biggest recipient of this extension is the city of Oregon City, because they're going to receive $300,000 for the future use of the park. So I'd love to see a mechanism to support the small businesses with that money directly. And also, I think a reduction in rent for the duration of the extension, 5 years, is totally within the purview of this moment. So I appreciate you all for considering that.
Thank you. Charles Gallia and Gordon Lawrence.
Mayor McGriff, Commissioners, my name is Charles Gallia. I'm a resident of Oregon City, actually right on the edge of the boundary. Unincorporated, adjacent. We do have a residence inside the city limits. One of the things that I participated in was developing the task force that created the marketing association for the downtown area, using the revenue that was coming about. And it triggered some thoughts about when I was living in Milwaukee. And Milwaukee City waterfront had Vic's Tavern, some old apartments that looked like they were going to fall down. They were right on the edge of McLaughlin, and dilapidated cars, and you could not see the waterfront. So when I started to work on that task force and thinking about what was possible in Oregon City, I got pretty excited when I heard about the connection to the water, the kayaking, the boating, some of the other activities that were there, and thinking like, well, this is a stream of revenue and business that doesn't exist in the city in strength, even though it is one of the greatest assets. And while I understand that ODOT is limited in its ability to reimburse businesses directly, what you're witnessing and experiencing, I think, is a lost economic opportunity for the city as a whole. To have that vision and the connection to the waterfront, the source of vitality that it brings, and the other kinds of businesses that are possible. Reimbursing a declining businesses and the waterfront marina is only part of the story. The not allowing access, and I understand nobody was blocking it, but frankly, I know you took a drive down there, you feel like you're in a construction zone. The signs say it's a construction area. The parking against the marina is all occupied. It looked to me like workers. It may not be construction zone activities, but the parking and the access was very limited. There's an asset that needs to be revitalized. There's a vision that needs to be elevated, and partnership includes helping other people meet their objectives. And I would hope that the city would insist on maybe referring the whole question back to the voters to get their buy-in once again.
Thank you. Go ahead, Gordon. Thank you.
Gordon Lawrence, resident of Oregon City. People say that there are two fantastic days in a boat owner's life. The first one is buying the boat. The second one, of course, is selling that anchor. I actually sold my boat because I lost access to putting it in the river and wanting to use it. So that's been a part of me that is gone, and it is directly correlated to the project that's been going on. I'm a contractor, I'm a project manager. I've been contracting for 20 plus years. If I ran a project the way that this has been going, I would be out of business, period. I am held accountable by my contract. I am held accountable by the contracts that I write, and I am held accountable to the people that I write those contracts with. If I showed up in the 13th hour and said, hey guys, I'm sorry, this is gonna be 2, 3, 4 times as much money, this is gonna be 5 years past what we're planning on doing, and there was no correspondence between then and now, there would be no repercussion for that. I don't have the benefit of saying, what else are you going to do? I would just be fired. I am responsible for employees. I am responsible for families. I am responsible for families that live in Oregon City. I don't have that benefit. I cannot sit back on my laurels and say, I know that we said one thing, but we're gonna do another. And that's what it feels like here. And I think it was thoroughly disrespectful to the city of Oregon City. I think it was disrespectful to the city commission that at the last meeting, ODOT presented being thoroughly unprepared to answer questions. And it was obvious. So I would expect that moving forward, we can expect some more clarity, better partnership like what was discussed tonight. And of course, we want to have a great relationship with the people that we work with and the things that are going to provide the things for the community that we need. However, it can't just be a situation where somebody says, I understand, we hear you, there's nothing we can do about it, let's move forward. I think that 5 years is egregious, And I think that at the very beginning of the presentation, what was said was, we're asking for a few more years. A few is 3, not 5. I think that Commissioner Mitchell said, I'm looking at the timeframes, and this is 2 to 3 years. Where are you getting 5? And I don't think that it's a positive thing to say, let's watch plants grow for 2 more years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Turn the buzzer off, please. Hate that thing. Paul Edgar.
Paul Edgar, thank you, Chair and Commission. Adam, you're 100% correct. We need to see action, and we need to see it over a period of time where they prove themselves working with the city, working with the businesses. The Sportsman's Store in Oregon City Shopping Center, sales, because the fishermen don't come into town. The boat activity, the tourism, all of the hotel, everybody's paying a price. And what was said just recently, should not be 5 years. I sat through the meeting with Commissioner Mitchell and the people. I understand the issues. I'm pretty knowledgeable in transportation. There's things that can be done concurrently to shorten the time frame. Those things need to happen, but we need to see them pulling the chain. They've been pulling the chain, been trying to. They've actually withheld some monies from Peter Kiewit to make sure that they could get some action. But this thing has been something they could milk. And now we got to bring it to an end. And so anything that opens the door to making it go out longer, giving them some excuse to not get things done. They've got real financial problems. So the money that's going to be needed to do the injection process, to harden the soils around the pillars, where's that money going to come from? They've point blank said all preservation and maintenance money in Region 1 has been disappeared out through 2030. That's what's now being said. So you people need to, I agree 100% with Raymond. This should not be finalized anytime soon. We've got to see something happening that's positive for Oregon City, positive for the business community, positive for tourism, and we got to get it to an end time as soon as they can do it. And I think that's got to be the real pressure point. You got to put onto them is say, we'll work with you, but you've got to bring this thing to an end as fast as you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you for not making the buzzer go off. Gentlemen, do you want to come back up? Whenever you're ready.
Do you just want me just to kind of respond to some of those? Is that what you'd like to hear? Okay. There was a number of there's a number of points made, and some of them are right on, and some of them are really relevant. So one of the questions was around incentive, disincentive, and does this contract have that? And this contract does have that. Our schedule right now is still, the contract completion date for this is still October 21st, 2026. And the schedule we told you that we have an accepted schedule it gets complicated fast, so I appreciate the time to just explain a little bit. The accepted schedule is showing May of 2027, but the contract completion schedule is still this coming October. We have a $70,000 a day disincentive or incentive for this contractor. So for every day that goes beyond that, we're entitled to ask for liquidated damages. And so that is going to be something that is part of the conversation between us and the contractor as we move forward. And I think it's in all of our best interests, Oregon City businesses, ODOT, and our contractor. The number one thing I think we should all be, shooting for and agreeing upon is that we want to get the project done as soon as possible. That is the least cost, least impactful thing that we can do, and that's our goal. That's what we, as a management team, have been pushing for with our contractor this whole time. So we're going to continue to be pushing for that. So I appreciate that that's also being asked for.
Brian, can I also add to that too as well? As we said earlier too, when the contractor doesn't follow the contract in certain aspects, we do have the ability to withhold payment or hold back payment to get them back into compliance. But again, we do not control their means and methods because it's up to them on how they actually manage their manpower, their resources, their equipment, and so forth to get that work done. So we do have ways, mechanisms, if you will, to ratchet down or apply pressure to them from a financial standpoint to get what we need out of the contract. It's just that, this is a challenging project, like Ryan mentioned before.
I guess the last one that's just sticking in my head is Paul mentioned the thing about not having payments, money set aside for paving over the next several years. That's true. We don't have money set aside for that particular program, but this bridge is going to get done. We're going to get this bridge done. We are going to move forward with getting our seismically stable project done, the soil matrix. So those are things that we're going to get done. There is money currently programmed for that. It's like going to need an increase, and we've told the commission that, and they understand that. So this is a conversation we're having with the commission right now too. This is not going to have any additional permanent impacts, which is something we had some good conversations with your staff about. Does it need to go to a vote again, or does it not need to go to a vote again? And our understanding is that it does not. And I think that's what we presented in the document. I think that the staff concurred with that. We're asking for your concurrence in that. But this project was also overwhelmingly approved by the voters when it did go to them. So I think that's known. This is not asking for a new thing. This is just asking for an extension of that time. So I would ask for your consideration of that.
Anything?
There's one other clarification I do want to make too as well. As Ryan mentioned earlier too, and I think everyone here agrees with it, we really want to get Kiewit out of there. And this 5-year extension that we're talking about is not to keep Kiewit there for the 5 years. Again, like we mentioned, Kiewit with all of his equipment and so forth, the contract right now says October, but based on what we're seeing, it's going to be May 2027. So at that point in time, for sure, Kiewit with all of their equipment, barges, cranes, etc., all out, such that we could actually focus on the next aspect of work, which has a much smaller footprint. We're talking small tractors like Matt kind of mentioned earlier when we do this soil stabilization work as well as the planting work, folks coming up with hand tools to be able to get that done. So what you're seeing out there right now is not what you're going to be seeing for the entire 5 years. No, we really want to make that clear. We want Kiewit out of there just as much as everyone here in the room does.
Thanks, Fidel. And maybe to follow up on that last phase of the plan establishment. Yes, we aren't going to be out there daily watching the plants grow, but when a plant dies and it hasn't reached the 3 years, it's on the contractor to replace it. We need to be able to legally access the site to replace it. So that's why we need the additional time to be able to go in there and do the work needed to make sure the park is back to the condition it was before we got there.
And if we can get done sooner than that, we'd be happy to.
I hope you're planning on fencing it because I have experience in another area of Oregon City where a volunteer group that I have participated in planted a bunch of stuff, and somebody came with their truck and they dug them up, which was really not good. Any questions, gentlemen? More questions? Please go ahead. Okay, she now decided she wants to speak. She now decided she wanted to speak. Yes? Are you saying yes, she does? Yes, okay, then put her on. Sorry, we have somebody online that just made up their mind that they want to say something, so let's get them in.
Dee Dee?
Hi, guys, I'm sorry. I just text somebody, said, oh, they passed me by. I wanted to speak on 9A and 9B. Thank you, everyone, for speaking up. Raymond, you're right on target.
Dee Dee, you have to identify yourself for the record. I know you forgot that.
Oh.
Sorry.
Sorry, thank you. I'm Dee Dee Dolster. I've lived in Oregon City for 50 years. And I support the right to vote. I'm sorry I got called back up because everyone has so addressed all of our concerns, but they just need to come up with something better than what they offered before. And as a business, when you lose 65% of your business, or 61, or even 50% of your business, it's worse than starting a new business all over to capture that business again. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll save the rest of my time for 9B.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
Thank you. So I think based off of my comments, it's pretty clear that I'm not ready to vote to approve any extension tonight. However, if in the future there is an IGA that comes across our desk that outlines key deliverables about not only the quiet zone and Old 82nd, but also the public access, the signage, and the other business concerns, and we are able to sign that and come to an agreement, then I would be happy to move forward with the extension. I recognize that the answer to a ballooning budget is not necessarily asking that you give us more money to do other projects, but the ask, at least for the two that I brought up, I don't believe would be an unnecessary cost burden on you all. It's more of a timeline and deliverables type of expectation that we would like to see there, as much as I agree with the sentiment that you brought up, Raymond. So that's where I am, and I would be happy to move forward with this very important project, so long as that spirit of partnership that I talked about earlier is there in the form of an IGA.
Michael?
Well, I'm not ready to go forward tonight either, for some of the things that I've already brought up, questions that came up the other day that haven't been answered. But, and this is just came into my head when you started talking about how significantly scaled back the presence will be once Tuit leaves. I'm leaning toward a two-phase extension, one that would allow the in-the-water work and the all the equipment associated with that through that May 2027 date, a little longer than a year from now, and then an additional time extension for the soil stabilization and the creek restoration and landscaping and such. We need a way to continue to put pressure on getting that mess out of the river. And I know you want to do that. We get that. But we've got businesses that deserve that. Our city deserves that. We deserve to get our park back. So for me tonight, there are still too many open questions. I would want to see, in addition to what Commissioner Morrow talked about, let's see the signage that you're talking about. And let's get answers on some of those other questions that are still out there.
Mr. Smith? Oh, sorry.
I guess the the question that, what is the firm deadline that if we were to not take action or not decide to refer to the voters either way, that this current agreement ends and they would have to vacate the park property? Which, even if they do, does not help the business access part of it. I want to make that point as well.
I think when we discussed this, it expired before the November election, which meant it needed to be in the August election in order to, because the expiration is between the August and November elections. So it'd be a special election in August, which we'd have to look to back up at Clackamas County Tax Assessor. That's probably coming up pretty darn quick to get it on the ballot.
You can get an accurate number on that for us?
I'm sorry?
You can get an accurate date on that for us? Not right now. Because it does, I think we're not going anywhere with this tonight, would be my guess.
Rocky?
I'm not sure I want to tie this up with a bunch of other projects and confuse it even more, but I do think that we need at least some plan to address the signage, to address the delineation of the work areas, things like that, which I think are pretty simple. We had some plan and idea of that. I think I'd be, close to being ready to go forward.
So I do want to thank you for answering some of the questions we had tonight. I definitely had in the last meeting some frustration with my feelings of really lack of preparedness for the questions we had last time we met. Where I'm at is truthfully where I left off at the last meeting. I'm struggling reconciling the fact that, yes, this did get approved by our voters for 4 years. And I'm struggling with the idea of taking that and saying, well, I know you approved it for 4 years, and I, being on the commission, am going to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and extend that. I don't feel good about that. And I feel in this horrific position, truthfully, of understanding the value of this project. I want this project. I think all of us agree this is a very important project to be completed. But I don't feel right saying to my constituents, hey, I know you guys voted for 4 years, and I'm going to approve it for another 5. That's kind of where I'm sitting.
Well, at this point in time, I'm leaning towards this side of the table. I agree with you that trying to convolute it with a couple of other things, as I tried to explain to my friend Raymond, that was mixing different types of fruit that didn't go together. I appreciate all of the comments that I've heard tonight, plus the ones I've heard being out and about in the community. And I appreciate the fact that staff came in to clarify some of the misinformation that I've been hearing out there, because people, bless your hearts, but there's been a lot of misinformation out there. And we all know how things are today, where people get one fact and then it goes off somewhere else. So while I appreciate the comments about running a project, being a project manager, I don't think there's anybody in this room that can tell me that they have experience in doing retrofitting a bridge. So let me just leave it at that. I don't think anybody in this room does. I don't think ODOT did before they started doing this either. So we're all kind of in this together. This is a project that is of statewide significance, not just us, but we are the ones that are being impacted. So I guess I would like to go, with my opinion, somewhere between where Mike is and where Adam is, and see what we can, we still have time to make a full decision on this, but I guess I would like to see some of the things that they talked about. Can we get a commitment that those things are going to get done in a very specific time period, like yesterday? Again, I feel the pain of the businesses. I will say this, Holly, that I had a family member recently stay at the Best Western, and I asked them about whether or not they were aware of the noise. I told them that before they went, and they still wanted to stay there anyway because it's closer to where I live. So it wasn't super impactful, but then again, this is a very unique person. They knew what was going on with the project. So I'm sensitive to that, and I understand that. Again, I think ODOT has done a good job of explaining to us real property impacts versus the other impacts. And the city does have impacts. I'm sure that our parks director and assistant director could tell us about some of the things that have impacted our facility down there that, is eventually going to get rectified. So do we need to make a motion, or do you have enough direction from us? What would you recommend?
Mayor, may I say one more thing?
Oh, please.
Is that okay? I got to get this out there. I'm not, as much as I agree with, in theory, with what Commissioner Wilson said, I don't see any way that I can support a public vote, to be perfectly honest. The number one capital lettered giant text size is "Get this done." ODOT does not have a good reputation. And if this goes to a vote in the fall and it is turned down, this project will take even longer. Guaranteed. And that would be the worst possible outcome. So for that matter, I'm going to get it out there now. I just don't see that public vote as being workable. Philosophically, yes. As a practical matter, the possible outcome would be exactly what we do not want to have happen.
And on that comment, I did not say this in my last comments, but I agree with talking about this partial or this two-phase
funding. Two-phase approval.
Extension. I think that's a good thought, and maybe that's something we could consider.
Is that something we'd like to consider tonight, or do we want to think about it some more and have staff come back? Please.
So I will move that we direct staff to begin negotiations with ODOT to construct some sort of agreement that outlines our expectations for signage, for public access, for the two infrastructure projects that I brought up, and about how we can possibly expedite those timelines, and exploring a two-tiered or two-phased approach that would be contingent upon those milestones being reached.
For purposes of getting it discussed, I'll second it. Anything else, or shall we vote? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Marl.
Aye.
Mayor McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And I will say, just as an added caveat, that we need to get the second phase of whatever we're going to do done within the next couple of months as well. Not just this one phase part, but let's get the other part so that it is in place and we have something to hold people's feet to the fire. Yes, we will. Okay, we're going to take a very brief break. Does that say 10 till on there? Okay, so we'll come back at a little before 9. Get the show on the road.
No. Denise has it now. Oh, there's a tissue.
What? I was keeping this from condensating on on the counter here. Oh, I was going to say, I hope you weren't crying. So, all right, are we ready?
Yeah.
Not yet.
I'm about to be in this next.
Apparently, Mr. Bonington has replied. Somebody sent him the video.
Not bad. It's going to be sticky, though.
Ready whenever you are, Evan. Okay, we are called back to order, and our next item on the agenda is item 9B, and I'd like to turn this over to our Assistant City Manager, Ms. Troutman, please.
Yes, Mayor and Commission. So we are back this evening to continue our discussion about the McLaughlin Promenade. In your packets this evening, you'll see that there are the draft acknowledgement letters for the remaining properties where final decisions have not been made. They're relatively similar to the versions you saw at the last work session, with a couple minor changes based on feedback from you all. Additionally, you'll see that the parking options that were previously discussed are still in the staff report. So option A is unchanged. For option B, you'll see there is a note that OC Garbage confirmed that the dumpster, which appears to be blocking the last parking stall, can be moved. Option C, the note that's added was just simply that
that belongs to the apartment complex.
Yes,
Okay.
and they said it can be moved.
Okay.
Option C, this was the preferred option at the work session. Just wanted to highlight that, and that's the note at the end of this one. Then I did want to speak briefly about the discussion on closing Promenade Street and South Bluff Street and installing bollards. So we did speak with Clackamas Fire. They don't have an issue with the city using bollards both on Promenade Street and South Bluff Street. And you'll see that there's an attached map that shows the approximate location of where those bollards would go, as well as end of road markers where appropriate. There is a possibility this option could necessitate a new driveway on the northwest side of 4th Street or the placement of bollards to allow access to their property without the need for another driveway. There is a map showing this, and you actually received a letter at about 4:30 or 5 o'clock this evening from this particular property owner.
I did not see that.
What was that?
I said I did not see
Okay,
that.
so I think I saw Jacob forwarded that, yeah. So it did come in at the last minute. Apologies for that being last minute, but when I spoke with him today, that was the soonest he could submit it. Additionally, I did want to note that if Promenade Street were to be closed, that garbage pickup would need to be moved to High Street. And then the other thing I wanted to point out about closing down Promenade Street is that the property located at 421 High Street has a parking lot with angled parking spaces. So there'd be 2 spaces lost, and then the remaining spaces essentially wouldn't function very well at all because any vehicles parking in them would have to back out completely onto High Street. Again, there's a map.
Are you pulling those maps up? Somebody? I have the hard copies here, but.
Give me a minute, they all are in the packet.
That's okay, yep. That's a cool.
The map with 421 High Street is Promenade Bollards, page 2.
While he's doing that, my question last time was hope, beyond all hope, that those last remaining property owners, did any of them get back to you at all after all of this time?
We did not hear from every single property owner. However, thus far, all of the properties where final decisions have been made, in a couple instances, contact with code enforcement did have to happen, but as far as I know, everyone has complied and, you know, removed whatever items they were asked to remove.
I'm just talking about the ones that are in the last few that are in the packet.
So the last few that are in the packet,
some of them had things that had to be removed.
correct. But these last few that are in the packet, final decisions have not been made, so final letters were not yet sent. That's why the acknowledgement letters are still in here for approval. These were ones where they were impacted by the decision on parking and just other minor details. So these final letters have not gone out yet, even though I have had communication with most of these property owners at one point or another.
406 prom.
So 406 was the property owner that actually contacted us today.
Okay.
408, no, I don't recall speaking with them. I do recall speaking with the owners of 110, 112, 114, and 116.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the VFW. I know we've been in touch
Yeah,
with
we've
them,
definitely been in
so.
touch with them. We've spoken with the owners of 311 High Street, 118 Promenade Street. We have spoken with them.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything from 306 Promenade Street. We have spoken with the owner of 302, and we have certainly spoken with the VFW, as you said. So,
Okay. Thank you.
are you pulling up the maps? Okay. So this is the particular section that I was speaking of where 421 has the angled parking. You'll see, I guess, on the far right of the image, yes. And so these spots.
Okay, yes.
Who's about 2 here, and then these ones effectively wouldn't be usable. You'd come in like this and you'd have to back all the way out. So not impossible, but not likely. And this is the lot I was speaking of with, that could end up with blocked access.
Which one?
This property here owns this lot. They use it for parking.
40.
So if you put the bollards here and block this entirely, then they lose access to this lot and may need a driveway here. Or you put the bollards in here, this allows them access to their driveway, but then other people could get in this way.
I'm sorry, that is a vacant lot, not a parking lot. So somebody's been using it for parking even though it's not a parking lot.
So the owner, I believe is the owner next door at 406, and yes, he uses it for parking.
Okay, well, it's not a parking lot. He wants to use it for parking and he can develop it as a parking lot. But, so you're saying that if we put the bollards where they're showing on here,
That would still allow them to access that lot for parking. Otherwise, we would be blocking access to their parcel.
and we wouldn't want to give them an access off of 4th Street?
We could, that is an option. So we just wanted to point out that those things came up when we looked at adding bollards. These were just things for your consideration. So with respect to the parking options and the potential closure of Promenade Street, this was the information we wanted to make sure you all had for consideration this evening. And then the other part that we wanted to bring to your attention was that when we go for the designation process for the charter park, we will need a legal description of the property. In that discussion, we recognize that we do think there should be a dedication of right-of-way, 15 feet west of Singer Hill Road, and then the entire area east of Singer Hill Road, which is essentially the rock cliff. The 15 feet west of Singer Hill Road would simply allow for the potential expansion, say, of the road or sidewalks, if that were to be necessary, and also for us to maintain utilities in that area. And then there's one other final area of right-of-way at the opposite end of the promenade that the chief actually wanted to quickly present that would be potentially used for emergency access.
Yeah, Mayor, Commission, good evening. Public Works, myself, and ODOT have been having several discussions of emergency routes through the city when there's, say, rock falls that we had or something in the tunnel and maybe they need to shut down 99E for whatever reason. We currently have plans in place for if there are emergency shutdowns from South 2nd all the way to South End Road. However, there is no plans currently for South 2nd to all the way to 205. So with that, most recently we had a rock fall where trucks were backed up for many miles. And so we've been having discussions. One plan that we are exploring is to make a turnaround on Old Tumwater for semi-trucks if there's a 99E closure for the northbound lane, so they can go around. So with that, we looked at the map and you can see it's attached. There is a section of the park on the south side of Tumwater that is not even usable, but we'd like to dedicate that as a right-of-way so we can explore these options and have a possible truck detour route for trucks if we need to.
So right now, there's not enough room there for trucks to get around the corner?
So it's currently designated for if southbound traffic is shut down, that they'll take a left on South 2nd, turn left onto Tumwater, and then continue back northbound onto 99E to 205. Currently, the way the angle of Tumwater is, there is no way for a semi to make that angle turn. And many years ago, Tumwater used to be open to the public. That's now shut down, and it was designated for an emergency turnaround for semi-trucks. However, we want to explore the option with engineers and turning radiuses to be able to reconfigure that, maybe use bollards, but also to allow for trucks to head back southbound on 99E if for some reason 99E gets shut down between South 2nd and, say, the tunnel or Main Street. But currently, there's no way for a semi to make that turn without reconfiguring that intersection.
So what about, would this in any way affect the VFW's crazy driveway?
No, it would not affect that at all. It's just, and what we're exploring is putting up bollards in there so people can't use that, being able to remove those when there is an emergency, and we have to make that as a designated truck route.
Okay. Okay, can we get back to the bollard issue with the two proposals here? So what is the, so if we change the parking, I don't know which one's number one and which one's number two, but I'm looking at both of them together. So you have the property that's, oh gosh, I can't even read that. Is it 420, 421?
421 is the
Yes.
office building, is that what you're?
My eye doctor's going to be excited about that. Yeah, so if we change the parking there, both of those proposals have the bollards in the same location, but if we adopt a different parking configuration, that helps alleviate some of the issue, correct?
So the parking configurations that we've outlined in the options.
Right.
No, those would not be impacted by the bollards. We're talking about the parking that is around the building currently.
Yes, I'm not talking about the bollards. I like where they are, that's fine. I'm just looking at the parking layout that would help alleviate that angled parking that they wouldn't be
Right,
back now.
so none of the parking options presented would change that parking lot. It's not our lot.
Yeah. Oh, so they still, well, okay, all right. I was trying to solve the problem there. Okay, never mind. The one that you show on the moving south, so the one that's got the angled where it shows garbage dumpster, I like that one the least. I like the other one where it goes right by the garbage dumpster and then goes across. And then going on down, you've got, let's see, makes the turn, those both look okay. And then you've got the top one there where it says, oof, promenade, yeah, all those going across. That all seems fairly reasonable. I guess the big issue is where it is on 4th Street, or there's a concern about 4th Street.
And are you looking at the maps for the bollards or for the parking options?
I'm looking at, well, I'm not looking at anything at the moment. I'm looking at both of the maps, but I'm trying to process your comment that you said that the law office would not have access to the lot where there is parking.
Right.
Their lot, yes, if the
Right.
bollards were put in a certain
Yeah.
place. Right, unless we added a driveway on 4th.
Right.
Are you on Promenade Bollards, page 1? I think that's the one.
So unfortunately, this leads to another unfortunate circumstance. If that person wants to continue to use that as a parking lot, because I thought it was a developable lot. It's not developed for parking
So
to meet our city standards.
So the one on the screen right now tends to shut down access to the park.
Well, to the lot.
The lot.
Well, I know, I'm saying, but yes, but if you look at Promenade Bollards, page 2, we allow some access. I think that's really, some of the difference here. Where would the commission like to go concerning vehicular access into the park?
My preference would be no vehicles in the promenade.
And my feeling would be consistent. Either it's not at all or it's open to everybody.
Yeah.
Because this half and half, I don't understand letting one person use a lot and not the other people. So it makes no sense at all.
So for you, Promenade Bollards, page 2 really isn't an option with the one
Not
that's
for
on the
me.
screen right now?
Yeah, not for me.
So can we go back to the other one, please?
Yeah. I think that's been the consensus all along, is that we said no access, no parking, no driving, no whatever on the promenade. So you're right, we can't have one person have it and the other one not.
So then I think we're down to kind of this proposal here, where we're limiting all vehicular access into the park. Or if that's not acceptable, then we're not going to bollard anything, because then everybody would have access to avoid one person or a certain loop having it, not another. I think that's kind of, where the decision point is here then.
And I could go either way. I know that the majority of the commission would not agree with that, but I would go either way on that.
Do you want us to look at our parking options?
Hang on. A question. If you look over the angled parking clear over on 3rd Street, there's some area right there where you've got the cursor. Up. Yeah. There's some area to turn around.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the one over on next to 421 High, if there's a car in that last spot, there's nowhere to turn around.
Mm-hmm.
So what would happen if we slid those bollards up so that right in that area, you've got the full width to turn a car around?
You talking about, Evan, can you move the cursor up there where I think I know exactly what
I'm talking about right there. I'm talking about moving those bollards up to that area so that the area where he's got the cursor moving right now is the full width of the street where somebody can turn around. Because I would hate to see somebody have to.
It's not a street, it's a private parking lot. It's not a street.
So it's not any of our property.
What? The parking lot?
The parking
Yes.
lot.
The parking lot is not public.
So they just need to strike,
Well,
you'll have to
whose
restrike
property
that.
is it right where your cursor is pointing now? Is that park property?
Yes.
That's part of the promenade.
Okay.
That's part of the promenade, yes.
Okay.
The bollards are right on the property.
Right on the line.
Okay, the bollards.
So I'm
This was
suggesting-
this was that one section that was vacated but then it kept a bike and ped easement over it for some reason.
Right.
This was that one section that was kind of odd relative to the other areas that had been vacated.
Well, we shouldn't
I
have
guess-
vacated that.
I'm just suggesting moving that line of bollards up.
Right.
So now there's that space right where his cursor is for those cars that are parked to turn around.
So the solution is they lose 2 parking spaces because the alternative is we are being inconsistent with what everyone else except for me has said about having no vehicles in the park. And that would allow it to compensate 2 parking spots for a private parking lot. So my opinion is all or nothing. You'd go right on the line if you guys want to have no parking in the park. Or the other option, which I'm also okay with, no bollards at all.
Well, that's not my preference.
Well, I know it's not,
Yeah.
so, but this halfway
Yeah, I wasn't saying,
decision
he's
isn't.
just making it, he's trying to make a suggestion
And
to
honestly,
allow them to turn.
Commissioner Smith, I didn't think about the inconsistency, so, yeah. I would be okay with this one.
So then the property owner will have to just eliminate 2 spaces.
To match the other, if
Help
it's their
people turn
choice,
around.
but.
Yeah, it's their choice. Adam, any thoughts?
No, I agree with Commissioner Mitchell.
Okay. Okay, does that help?
Yes, so bollards throughout.
Bollards throughout.
Okay. All right. And then as far as parking options, is the general preference still then to stripe according to the plan we have in option, I think it's C?
Well, let me, before we get further discussion on that, let me call up Jim Nacita. I'm not for sure which part of this he would like to comment about, but he has the option to do all of the above before we make any any consensus. And then we also have Dee Dee online. So you want to give me a quick minute, Jim, while you're sitting there, if we get Dee Dee on? Thank you so much.
I'm here if you are.
We are ready for you, Miss Dahlstrid.
Hi, this is Dee Dee Dahlstrid. I live in Oregon City. I have a little bit of concern about vacating. The bollards are strictly up to the residents. But the vacate of the little area for turnaround, I didn't realize there was going to be bollards there. I didn't see that on the plan. However, I remember when it was an active road. The one I'm talking about is the turnaround by Moot, where you want to put it for trucks, emergency turnaround by VFW. I consistently see people going southbound towards Canby. Anyway, heading up towards Canby, I see them cut across head-on traffic to go up that road. Consistently. I see it about once a month. If they widen it to make it turn, I'm afraid people are going to cut across that 99 to get on that little loop, which will only turn it into a circle of emergencies because you can turn around, but if it's a whole bunch of people turning around, it will just get stuck in a donut because it'll get gridlocked. However, I didn't know there were going to be bollards there and only open during emergency.
Bollards, yes.
Thank you, Solly. So,
yeah, we need to look at that.
I really hate to vacate any park properties without a vote. However, the bollards are a consideration because that should not be open to traffic coming through there. I've almost been hit coming out of the VFW more than once. Well, kind of, almost hit. I had to go out there very carefully. But also Damon, he commented, whoa, there was a car. It happens frequently, cars going through there illegally, even though it says not to go through. The vacate.
Thank think we're
the
losing.
vacancy considered for Singer Hill, I don't agree with all. So I will leave it at that. I really don't think we ought to vacate city property. Thank you. I'm sorry I wasn't very clear, I think. Thank you.
So Scott pulled up the aerial, which is a lot clearer than that. I mean, I know what we're trying to do there, but
That's Singer Hill. That's
yeah,
not what?
yeah, I know that's different. So anyway, can we pull up the aerial for Tumwater?
The Tumwater one. Yeah.
The Tumwater one. Yeah, not that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Boy. And so where would the bollards go?
Oh, just for that little section. Oh, that makes,
Why don't we put the bollards where it says Tumwater Drive and
We would still need to negotiate with this with ODOT. I think, you all probably remember, this used to be open two-way.
Oh, yeah.
As part of some of the, I'm
Dangerville.
not sure which project it was, but it ended up going down to one-way, the do not enter sign, and it was, essentially part of turning around some trucks, depending on which direction they were coming in. So, if this was something that the commission would be interested in, we would still need to negotiate with ODOT on design, access, bollard, signage. It was just an idea, as we've had a couple of closures lately on 99E, and we're, just trying to struggle with some of these large trucks coming through, especially once we get a quiet zone on bottom of Singer Hill. Like, we're just trying to identify a little bit better routes to make that go a little bit smoother, because once we get those semis up into the neighborhoods, it really bogs things down even worse than just having the cars come through.
Okay, so this would be for like any big truck, or this is just the ODOT trucks coming to repair it?
This is large trucks during an emergency closure. We see sometimes, we've seen it where rock falls, or they're doing work on 99E where they've shut it down for a week at a time, and we have to get those trucks around. Sometimes they're shut down for a couple hours, so it all depends on the length of time, but we're just trying to explore, as the city manager said, a way to get very large trucks back onto the highways and the interstates instead of onto our city streets. They get stuck on Singer Hill because their GPS takes them that way. They're not supposed to. They go up South End, it's weight restricted. They go up South Center, that's weight restricted. They go under the bridge at Washington and 12th, like, they don't know. So we're trying to come up with a way to get semis back onto the freeways and the interstates
How does
and
this
avoid
get
our
them
city
back
streets.
onto the highway?
just going the other
It
way.
loops them around. So the master plan, which they have, is we have signage in place. We'll have flaggers, depending on the length of the time, to direct trucks to get her back around. So they will, if they're, for this route, this is for trucks that are going northbound, and there's a closure between, say, Tumwater and Main Street. Those semis have nowhere to go besides going up South Second onto our city streets currently. There's no way for them to turn around and get back to either 99E or an interstate. So that's what we're trying to.
Okay, so you're saying the red line, they're coming down, it's blocked up somewhere, they come down Tumwater Drive, they are on Tumwater, and then are they trying to get back to the end, are you trying to?
No, go back to South Second.
South Second and then back down to McLaughlin?
And we'll send them back to Canby.
Yep.
And they'll figure
The way
out.
they came. Yep. And ODOT's exploring, because now they have some of our emergency routes that we had planned for, like Central Point. There's now weight restricted bridges on there. So ODOT is working with the county, us, to figure out some different ways to get these very large vehicles back onto the interstates and off of these weight restricted roads.
Well,
So this is one solution that we created.
okay, why don't we just solve part of the problem and don't allow vehicles to go on there either? Just block that off at Tumwater and McLaughlin and only have it open if you have some emergency, because I haven't seen what Dee Dee's talking about, but I can only imagine people do dumb stuff.
I would imagine during rush hour, people shoot across there to jump
Yeah,
the
and we
light.
should not, they should,
Well, that's why I say we need to talk to ODOT.
Okay.
There's probably a reason we haven't bollarded it, and it's probably in agreement with ODOT, so that somebody doesn't go flying in there. and hit a bunch of bollards, would be my guess.
That's their problem.
Then it becomes our problem.
It's all
It shouldn't be flying over there.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a concept
Yeah,
that we can
okay,
discuss
yeah.
with
I
them.
remember that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're talking about. I saw a trailer with a big truck, and he was carrying steel beams on 7th Street. And I just thought, what are you doing up this street? He was going up the hill, he went to Warner Milne, he went to Warner Parrott, and then out on Central Point Road. I don't know where the guy was going with that stuff, but he was taking up all the road.
And that's what we're trying to alleviate.
Yeah.
The other alternatives is go up Center Street, take a right on 5th, either go down Washington or go up Lynn Avenue.
I don't want to on my street either.
So this is the best solution that we can come up with during an emergency closure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, get us some more information on that after we talk to our friends at ODOT. Okay, so what do we want to do about this parking? We got option C, yes. Oh, yes. Okay, so Dee Dee, are you done? She's done. Go ahead, Jim.
I'll say before I start to Commissioner Wilson, I'm not speaking on the bollards or the parking at all. So if you all want to discuss that, that's fine. I'm just talking about my house.
Yes, we'll go with your house.
Now, or do you want to?
Now.
Okay, fine, thank you. Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Jim Mesita, I live at 302 Bluff Street in Oregon City. You've got my email from this afternoon. I said I'd review some past meeting tapes.
I apologize, I did, if you sent it at 4:30, I did not see it, I'm sorry.
I can't remember what time I sent it.
I was not even home.
So my draft letter says that if my stairs get destroyed, I can't replace them. Okay, I object to that language, and the reason I went back to the past tapes. So this destroyed language, as far as I can discern, originated on August 6th of last year, 123 High Street. There was language in their letter that if their shed got destroyed, they would not be able to rebuild in the promenade. So 214 Bluff Street was later, a deck was allowed, and there was no destroyed language in that letter. I was later, and my property got discussed twice during the first discussion. Mr. Conkle suggested that the destroyed language be in my letter. The commission did not agree. Later, in the second discussion of my property, Mr. Mitchell, Commissioner Mitchell said that I should have the right to rebuild my stairway. And the mayor said, quote, "I have no problem with that." In the January work session, there was no destroyed language in my draft letter. Now there is. I don't know what happened. I've watched that tape too. I couldn't comment in a work session, but I did watch the tape, and I didn't see anything about this destroyed language. I have to point out that in addition to 214 Bluff Street that has no destroyed language, I know of at least 2 of the licensing agreements that have no destroyed language either. There was a vote on my property that was 2-2. It would have passed without the destroyed language, except for Commissioner Smith voted no about his general overall concern about parking, not about my property. So if this destroyed language is included in my letter, it's going to cause me a huge hardship because I'm trying to maintain the property right now, and I've removed my steps because they weren't in good shape. Even in the future, if a tree were to fall on my property and destroy the property, a future owner wouldn't be able to reconstruct its steps and get out to the second floor. So I would request that that language be removed and the January language be used. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We want to deal with this particular issue first before we get into the parking.
I'm fine with that. Yeah. But I just have a question. If this is, I did read the email from Mr. Nacita, and I am curious if that is in fact the case, that we have not included language about if it's destroyed in other decks, and we are intending it on Mr. Nacita's. I do agree with Rocky about this concept of consistency.
So I would just point out that my recollection was that this was brought up and asked for at the work session, but it wasn't mentioned before. So to the extent that there's inconsistency, I mean, we've been working on this for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
So yes, admittedly, I think there is some inconsistency. I've done my best to follow the direction given during these meetings, but there has been a lot of flip-flopping back and forth on what's been decided, and I understand that because this has been very difficult to address. Each situation is unique, but yes, I can't sit here and say that we've been perfectly consistent on everything that we've done. I mean, even just the format of going from encroachment licenses to acknowledgement letters, like there has been a lot of changes over time as this has been worked through. So no, I can't sit here and tell you that everything is perfectly consistent, because I'm sure it's not.
No, I appreciate it. And I know you put a substantial amount of work into this, and I think over the last 2 years, as we've had meetings that are, inconsistently held where we discuss it, it is a little bit of, wait, what did we say at the last one?
Yeah.
What do we talk about at this one? So I absolutely want to acknowledge that too, and clarify,
We can go either way. Like, for example, 306 Promenade, Mr. Creech. Your deck extends 8.7 feet into the promenade. In addition, this area has been landscaped and it's being used for vehicle parking. This letter serves as formal acknowledgement that the city is granting you permission for your deck and stairs to remain in the encroachment area, provided there is no alteration or further expansion of the promenade, and if destroyed, are relocated within the boundaries of your property. I mean, we can go through each one of these. We've been back and forth on what can be replaced, what can't. Some encroachments were acceptable, some weren't. But here's an example where that language exists for a different property concerning it, the porch is on the promenade property. So this indicates it's destroyed. We can go through each one of them and change it to whatever you'd like it to be.
Okay, we have the one at 408, and that is access deck and portion of deck that extends into promenade. I gotta go find the letter. Maybe that one isn't, maybe that one got resolved and it's not in here. Oh, here it is, 408, okay. Yeah, that one, it does say, if destroyed, these items will be located within the boundaries of your property.
Yep, 406 Bluff, same exact language.
Right, yeah. So you got I'm looking at 408.
So we got.
It's right next to 421. Yeah, I agree we need to be consistent. My bigger concern about 406 is that it is on the city's inventory. Find the picture again. I'm sure the stairs probably have some significance. I'm not sure about the deck part, but we want to just be consistent with all those three and basically say that they can remain, but if there's two options. Let's say a tree falls and kills the stairs, so then could they be rebuilt? If the whole house gets destroyed and it has to be rebuilt, that's a different story, because then you might have the option to move stuff back out of the promenade. So, do we want to change the letter to say that the encroachment for the stairs on those three properties can remain?
They can remain.
That's what I said.
It's can they be rebuilt if they're...
Yes, that's the second question. They can remain, and do we want to allow them to be rebuilt if they're, if it's being repaired?
And I also hate to do this,
It's their
What's
access.
the difference of, I see there's a difference though between destroy and repair.
Yeah, I mean, they can, if Jim said that his stairs were rickety, so let's say he has to come in, he has to repair them. They're still there, they're not being expanded, they're gonna be done in the same manner as they were. If it's just, destroyed, I don't know. Destroy means the whole thing's gone. You know, there's not any remnant left. This one's 5.3 feet. I think these properties, the issue has to do with the fact that that's part of their access to get into their properties.
I don't know. I don't know how we've done all the back and forth on whether or not destroyed or not, but.
Let's just say it can be rebuilt to exactly the way it was, not anything further.
Yeah, I think that was what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Whether it's repaired because it's in poor condition, or whether it's destroyed by a tree or whatever, I don't have a problem with it being replaced as long as the footprint doesn't get any larger.
Change, yeah. As long as the footprint doesn't change.
And I think we can be consistent with that across all the properties.
Yeah, the one at 406, I think the property line is like right there. That's what the previous owner told me. We have consensus on that? Okay, yes, I got a yes, I got a yes.
I do still struggle with the idea of, because there's a difference between a stairwell that's an entrance to your home and a deck.
Absolutely, I would agree.
So I have a hard time with that.
With the deck?
Well, if we're going to be consistent about allowing the stairs, I do have a problem with maintaining that consistency for something like a deck that is not as necessary to the household.
You're talking about a deck that does not provide access, that is not the access to the house.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I don't think any of these are that.
Well, Mr. Nacita's is.
It's a what?
You need to be on.
Oh, sorry. Hey, nope.
You need to be on.
You used to be up here, you can't talk from the audience. Sorry.
So I wasn't talking about Mr. Nacita's property. I was talking about that's one of the ones where I would want to see that. But if we're maintaining that consistency for the other properties with encroachments that include something like a deck, I have a problem with that. Including language that would allow it to be rebuilt substantially similar.
I don't have a problem with the stairs. This one goes up to their front door or their door. Is this like a secondary entrance? I thought the entrance was over on the other side.
We could say something like structures that lead to the primary entrance of the residence. Maybe that's some sort of middle ground. But I think if I'm recalling how I voted in the past, one of the reasons why I supported the inclusion of the destroyed language was because I wanted it to be consistent across the structures, including things like decks that are not as necessary to be rebuilt. But I would be willing to go somewhere in the middle of recognizing those that are more necessary for the dwelling than others.
Primary access,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, I'm good with that.
Yep, me too.
Okay, we're all good with that?
gotta be in the mic? You have to come up to the mic.
Well,
We decided that in cases, which I believe is yours, that if the stairs were destroyed, they would be allowed to be rebuilt because they provide the primary access to the home.
what about the deck?
I think the deck is a landing. I think we just use deck generically throughout this.
Right.
I think
I
you're
thought the
going
entrance-
to have stairs attaching to what we call a deck, which could also be called a landing.
Right.
My understanding is you want us to change these letters and go house by house. And if you have stairs or a deck or a landing that's on public property that leads to a front door,
Primary, right.
you can rebuild it forever.
I don't think when I went to his house, I went. Could you
Oh,
just,
during the time of the license agreement. That's
could you just
different.
nod when I ask this question?
worse.
No, I'm not gonna have you come back up.
And to a substantially similar footprint.
Yeah. I thought your entrance was on the side of the street where you usually park your car. That's when I went to visit you last. I walked to your front door, which I thought was your front door. That's your back door. Okay. And just nod. Well, I went to the back door then. Okay, parking.
And so, clarifying question, we've approved other properties that have the language that's in these letters. So would you like us to resend those out with the revised language for those properties that it's applicable to?
I don't know which other ones we put that language in.
I mean, I'd have to go back and look. I'm just pointing out the fact that most of the other letters have gone out. They did not include language saying that they could rebuild to a primary access if that applied. I'm just saying, again, most of these have already been approved and gone out. So
Okay,
those are
they've
not
gone
going to
out.
be consistent unless we send them again, which might be confusing to the property owners, but we can do that.
Well, I'm confused.
I thought that when we took the tour and we were going through, my recollection was that we did decide that a lot of those encroachments would be able to stay, but
You did. I'm just saying it might not have the exact language that you just said because those weren't in the, we didn't discuss that prior. So they're not going to have that exact language, even though there are letters that went out saying that their encroachments could stay. That's all I'm saying. Yes, they've been told that that's allowed, but they're not going to have the exact language you all just approved tonight because they already went out.
okay. Well, if
They've
the
already
end
gone out
result
there.
is the same, then that's fine. And
Okay.
if there's outreach about similar to what Mr. Nacita has brought to us, then I think something can be said about what we're deciding here. But since the outcome for right now is the same, I don't see a need to.
Go back out again. I don't. All right, parking. Last but not least. We have in front of us option C and two options here. One, not option, but we show First and Bluff. We show option C. That was what we talked about.
That seemed to be the preferred option at the last meeting, yes.
That's what I recall.
Yes.
We've got room on 3rd Street. They can get in and get turned back around. And remind me again what the little square is. It says 8 by 20 next to the 2 High Street Market.
That's like
Sure, what
utility
that is.
box or something,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Is that some, that's,
I think there's a,
I'm not sure.
no.
no,
No, there's something there.
there is something there.
I thought there was, maybe. Can't see it there. Can't see it's up.
Maybe it's showing a parking space that you, there's 17 feet you could park there. I don't, maybe there is nothing there. Maybe that's just a parking space. Scott's looking. There's nothing there. That's just showing a parking space. Because this parking space is about 8 by 20.
Yeah, there's not a parking space
Okay.
there, but it's just, I don't know what that is referencing.
Okay. So do we want to go ahead and move forward with this parking option?
With option C?
It's option C. That's what we said.
Yep, works for me.
Okay. We need to make a motion? Or we just approve it when we get all the stuff back?
I think once, well, at this point, I guess that's a question for you all. Is there anything that you're actually wanting to get back for further discussion? We did have it set up so that we could do final approvals tonight if you want to do that.
Yes.
So yes, I mean, if you'd like to make a motion to do final approvals, that'd be great. Otherwise, just please identify what you'd like us to bring back and we will do that.
Somebody make a motion, please.
Oh, boy.
We'll get help.
Should we do them one at a time?
We could do that. So we have the right-of-way
I'm just trying to
dedications.
make it easier to make a motion.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have the right-of-way dedications, the bollards.
Yeah, we're
Let's start
approving
with
the
the
bollards.
parking, letters,
And that
letters.
that option, we're approving option C for parking.
Okay.
And we're also looking at making a slight change to the letters for those 4
Yes.
properties that we still have, that are still hanging out there.
Correct.
So 302, 306, 408, 406. And we're not doing anything with 110, 112, because that's just stuff they have to get out of there. Okay, so those are the 3 elements.
What about the right-of-way designation on Singer Hill Road?
Let's do that as a separate motion,
Okay.
because it's not super, it doesn't get into all of this stuff, and we can make that motion separately. Let's have a motion, please. If you want to do the easy one, do the right-of-way dedication on Singer Hill. Do that one first.
I will move that we approve the bollard option presented on Promenade Bollards, page 1, restricting full access, and also approve
Option C.
option C for the parking.
Second.
And what about we're going to do a separate motion for the houses?
And,
Yeah.
and that we send the letters with the language about destroyed structures that can be rebuilt if they lead to a primary entrance.
Right. That they are within that same footprint.
That they are within this.
Or smaller.
Yes.
Second.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Marl.
Aye.
Mayor McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, let's have a motion on the right-of-way dedication for Singer Hill.
I'll move to approve the right-of-way designation as shown on the map that was provided.
Right-of-way dedication.
That's what I said.
Yeah, oh, I thought I heard you said designation. Anyway, I'll second.
Whatever.
Yep. Right-of-way dedication.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Marl.
Aye.
Mayor McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I'm going to stab myself in the head right now.
Oh.
I thought that
The Tumwater
wasn't
Drive
fine.
one? Is
I
that
thought
what
that
we're talking
wasn't.
about now?
I thought that wasn't fine. That there was still some more dinking around because you had to talk to ODOT.
We do. It's going to take a year or two.
Oh, God.
I think the idea was just that we would understand if you all would be okay with it as long as we can get through the permitting with them.
Let's add it to the IGA.
I know. No, don't do that. It might take forever.
Well, it'll also help because we do have to, we have to drop a description of what the charter park's going to be, and we need to know whether we want to include this little segment that's on the
On
south
Tumwater?
side of Tumwater, or if we're going to take it out.
Let's take it out.
Okay.
Oh.
We don't want that little remainder piece hanging out there.
I guess my only question is, we get, on the other one, we had a pretty accurate map. On this, we've got
Scribbles.
a drawing and we don't know. So can we make a motion not
Subject
knowing
to-
exactly what piece of property we're talking about?
We do still
I
have
mean,
to
we like the
complete-
concept, I
Sure.
think.
Yeah.
We can bring it back.
Well, I
Why don't
think
we-
that you're
let's bring
making
it
a
back.
motion
More
for a concept that we're going to bring back.
Yeah, so the
Perfect.
dedications
Okay.
we're still gonna have to bring back for approval.
We're not,
Yeah.
we're
do
not
that.
dedicating parkland
Okay.
tonight.
Can you
We're
do
not-
that? Let's make a
we've got-
motion to approve the concept.
So I'll move forward with the concept of the right-of-way designation in the Tumwater Drive area.
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Marl.
Aye.
Mayor McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Are we all sufficiently brain dead now?
Pretty close.
Good, move on. Communications.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Commissioners.
I don't have anything.
I have one minor thing, and it's not April Fool's. Some of you got copies of a letter we got from a person by the name of, and I'll just name names, Lynn Brooks. He or she, or they, submitted information regarding downtown. I attempted to respond on behalf of the commission to explain what was going on with the courthouse, what's going on with housing, transportation, the exclusion zone, et cetera, et cetera. The email bounced back. And and when I mailed it to the PO box that was listed on the letter, it came back. So somebody spoofed us. I'm sorry that I was not able to get your response to you, Ms. Brooks or Mr. Brooks. I tried. I did go to the Oak Grove Post Office and they said that box didn't exist. So I am sorry. I tried. Other than that, I'll work with Mr. Lehman on getting our Arbor Day Foundation press release. We just, as I said earlier, we got that. And I will say that I got a very nice letter from one of our Meals on Wheels recipients, George McKinder, former military retired. Very nice, inviting me to come for yet another visit. So with that, we will adjourn.